The problem with both of those methods, both oral exams and Scantron stuff, is they may do really well for certain kinds of people. Like if you have a student with high interpersonal intelligence, they might be able to fudge their way through a lot more because they can read the room and react to the room. And another person might be really good at multiple choice testing because their logical mathematical intelligence is very high, and they can figure out, if they don't know the answer, what's the most probable multiple choice here. And there's so many strategies for how to do that and get really good grades. So the main problem with testing is that it has both false positives and false negatives. You know, you can know your stuff and be a bad test taker, and you can be a good test taker and not know your stuff. So it's just
so true.
It's deeply flawed. So, and as we're rethinking testing, we need to think in terms of assessments rather than tests. And I like the term assessment because that speaks to the purpose rather than the form.
Yes.
So we want to focus not just on the format, we want to really focus on the purpose. So how do we assess their knowledge, their understanding, their integration of this material? And I think especially for those of us with special needs kids, or kids who just aren't good test takers, or people who are really high in intelligences that are not well reflected on Scantrons, using alternative formats is one of the best things that we can do. And you know, sometimes if some of us get caught up in, well, is this really equivalent to, you know, what the public schools are doing? And that can be really hard. But most states, if you look into their laws deeply enough, you'll see, I think most states will permit alternative methods of assessment by demonstrating mastery.
And we have a blog that goes through all the state's laws and what's required. And there are some that allow you to replace a portfolio with the standardized test if you ask for it. But you have to ask permission and get that permission, and then you can do that.
And some places you don't even have to ask permission. It's just a thing that you can choose to do as a parent. So I mean, know your own state's laws, and that's great that you have that resource on your website to go through each state like that. That's
was a
huge.
Very difficult one to put together. I'll tell you that. My head was spinning.
I'll bet. I mean, I've looked through Delaware because that's where I live, and you know, it's a tiny state, but the laws are just it's a lot to look through. So alternative formats, those can look like a lot of different things. I mean, we've talked about oral exams already, but if you've got an auditory learner or someone with good interpersonal intelligence, or just high linguistic intelligence, that might be a really good method for them. Is just, and you can even, if there's a test in the book, take the test and ask them the questions verbally.
Yes.
And see where they go with it.
Definitely.
You know, it might take a little bit of rephrasing, you know, just giving them true or false and having them say true or false isn't really any better than having them do it written, but asking them the content of the questions and, you know, well, why was this false? Why was this true? Tell me more about these things. That's assessing. So oral exams, you mentioned portfolios, especially if you have, you know, a kid with an artistic bent. Those are great. Let them demonstrate all of the things that they have seen and can put on paper. You know, doing a gallery exhibition and taking good pictures, you know, hang up all of your artwork and diagrams and dioramas on the hallway wall, and let's treat this like a gallery. Like, that's a cool, fun thing that kids can get into.
Yeah, and I love doing PowerPoints as assessments. You know, it teaches them a skill. And then they have to learn to present. My daughter does that. She does the best for research when she has to put a PowerPoint together. And we just found that out. But she prepares, she rehearses, and then she gives her little.
Well, and part of that is because when you know you have to teach it, you take the extra steps to really know your material a little bit better. Wiki projects are another cool thing that I've seen popping up more and more, where students create their own wiki on a topic. And
Yeah.
part of the assessment as the teacher, I'm not just looking for the quantity and quality of all of the articles that they've written, but I also want to see what articles have they linked together.
Right.
What topics
Yeah.
do they think were interrelated, and how did they want to organize this information? Like, that tells you, the links that they put in there tell you almost as much as the paragraphs do.
Yeah, definitely, because they're thinking beyond the subject itself and how it relates to a broader topic.
It's very meta. Yep.